a very warm welcome to you. One is so glad you have found your way to this quiet corner, a small sanctuary set aside for rest and gentle thought. This story was created with the simple hope of providing a peaceful companion for the evening to help the world outside feel a little further away and allow sleep to arrive as a soft and welcome friend. If you find comfort in our time together, a simple like, a subscription, or a kind comment is always deeply appreciated. Tonight, we will be visiting the Verdant Hollow, the home of the Alchemist of Gentle Rain. Here, in this soft and mossy land, we will join Caspar as he listens to the quiet songs of the Mizzle and the Sunshower. Prepare to be soothed by the gentle patter of raindrops and the comforting scent of the wet earth, as we learn that the most profound magic lies in the simplest gifts of the sky. Chapter 1, The Listening Porch. There are places in the world, one feels, that have learned the art of being quiet. The Verdant Hollow was such a place. It was not a valley which suggests a passage through, but a hollow, a place to arrive and gently stay. Low, rounded hills, covered in a deep and ancient moss of emerald green, formed a soft bowl that cradled the stillness within. Sounds that entered from the wider world seemed to sigh and settle here, losing their sharp edges. At the hollow's heart stood a single cottage, and at the heart of the cottage was Caspar, a man who had also learned the art of being quiet. His favorite place in all the hollow was the listening porch. It was a wide, generous space made of smooth, silvered willow wood, its roof thick with the same living moss that blanketed the hills. This mossy roof was a wonderful instrument, for it did not merely repel the rain but softened its voice, turning a sharp drumming into a soft and rhythmic patter. Here, Caspar would sit for hours in his old wicker chair, its frame creaking with a familiar, comforting groan, a sound like a sleepy sigh. A thick woolen blanket the color of twilight was often draped over his lap, its gentle weight a constant, reassuring presence. This afternoon, the air itself seemed to be holding its breath. A change was coming. Caspar could feel it as a subtle shift in pressure, a gentle caress on his skin, as if the whole sky was slowly leaning closer to the earth. He could smell it, too. A clean, sharp scent, the perfume of ozone, was rising from the loamy soil, a fragrance that always preceded a fresh rain. The usual gentle hum of the hollow, the buzz of bees and the chirping of crickets had fallen silent, replaced by a profound and expectant hush. The world was waiting, and in its waiting there was a deep and resonant peace. Caspar settled deeper into his chair, the familiar texture of the wicker smooth against his back. His breathing was slow and even, a quiet rhythm in the stillness. He looked out across the hollow, his gaze soft and unfocused. The weeping willow at the center of the green expanse was perfectly still, its long fronds hanging like motionless green threads. The small stream that trickled through the hollow seemed to murmur even more quietly than usual. This was the most peaceful moment of all, this gentle pause between the world as it was and the world as it was about to be. He let his eyes drift closed, focusing now on his other senses. He could feel the slight drop in temperature, a coolness that was refreshing and clean. He could hear the soft rustle of his own breathing, a gentle tide rising and falling in the great ocean of quiet. The scent of the coming rain was stronger now, a beautiful and wholesome perfume that spoke of cleansing and renewal. It was a smell that seemed to wash the mind clean of any cluttered thoughts, leaving behind only a simple, calm awareness. Then it came, a single soft drop, landing on a broad fern leaf nearby with a sound so quiet it was more felt than heard. Another followed, landing on the wooden porch railing with a gentle tap. Soon more were falling, each one a tiny distinct note in the forming symphony. It was not a downpour, not a storm, but a gentle and considerate arrival, as if the sky were taking care not to startle the quiet earth below. The soft patter began to grow, a sound like the rustling of 1,000 soft leaves. Caspar pulled the twilight-colored blanket up a little higher, its soft wool warm and comforting against his chin. A feeling of profound contentment washed over him, as gentle as the rain itself. There was nowhere else he needed to be, nothing he needed to do. His only task was to sit and to listen and to be present for the simple, beautiful gift. The air filled with the fresh, clean smell of the rain hitting the dry soil, a scent that felt like coming home. He opened his eyes again, watching as the rain washed the world, deepening the green of the moss and making the silver of the willow bark gleam. The world seemed to be sighing in relief, drinking in the cool, life-giving water. The rhythmic patter on the mossy roof was a perfect lullaby, a sound that bypassed the thinking mind and spoke directly to the heart. On his listening porch, surrounded by the gentle song of the falling rain, Caspar felt a peace so complete it felt like the hollow itself was breathing for him. Chapter 2. The Song of the Mizzle. The rain that had arrived was a mizzle, the softest and shyest of all rains. It was a fine silvery mist that descended without weight, its touch upon the skin less like a drop and more like a cool, damp breath. It was a rain for listening, for its song was a delicate whisper that could easily be missed by a hurried ear. The mizzle hung in the air like a fine veil, softening the edges of the world, making the hollow feel even more secluded and safe, a small, quiet world unto itself. The scent it carried was of cool stone and damp, feathery moss. With a slow and deliberate grace, Caspar rose from his wicker chair. The gentle weight of the blanket fell away, and he felt the cool, misty air on his arms. He turned and stepped through the open doorway into his cottage, the scent of dried herbs and wood smoke, a warm and welcoming contrast to the cool air outside. From a low shelf made of polished driftwood, he began to gather his hushing jars. They were beautiful, simple things, crafted by his own hands from the pale gray clay of the hollow stream bed. Each one was slightly different, their surfaces unglazed and wonderfully smooth, their shapes pleasingly round and organic, like well-worn riverstone. Carrying 3 of the jars cradled in his arms, their cool, earthy texture a comfort against his skin, he returned to the porch. He moved without hurry, his footsteps making a soft, muffled sound on the old wooden planks. One by one, he placed the jars along the porch's wide, smooth railing. He set them just so, with enough space between them for their individual songs to be heard. The jars seemed to welcome the mizzle, their pale clay darkening slightly as the fine mist settled upon them, a sign that they were beginning to drink in the dampness. Then came the sound, the song that Caspar had been waiting for. As the fine droplets of the mizzle touched the porous clay of the hushing jars, they made a sound that was almost too quiet to be a sound at all. It was a soft, continuous shriek, like the gentlest exhalation or the distant turning of a page in a great, quiet library. It was a wonderfully soothing whisper, a sound that seemed to gently smooth out the wrinkles of the mind. Caspar leaned against a porch post, the wood solid and reassuring at his back, and simply listened. Each jar had a slightly different voice. The largest, roundest one seemed to hum with a lower, softer whisper. A smaller, more slender jar produced a slightly higher, silkier sound. Together, they formed a gentle, harmonious chord of quietude. Caspar watched as the fine mist collected on the lips of the jars, forming tiny, perfect beads of silver, before trickling down their sides or falling inside with an almost imperceptible splash. The jars were not just collecting water. They were absorbing the very essence of this gentle rain, its coolness, its softness, its quiet, whispering soul. The world beyond the porch railing became a beautiful, soft, focused painting of muted greens and grays. The great willow tree was a soft silhouette, its weeping fronds dripping slowly, adding a gentle rhythmic plink, plonk to the Mizzle's constant whisper. The air was so full of moisture that breathing felt different, softer, as if he were inhaling the mist itself, letting its cool peace fill his lungs. He felt a gentle sense of weightlessness, as though the fine mist were helping to hold him up. Now, he remained there for a long time, utterly absorbed in the moment, his thoughts quieted, fading away until all that remained was the sensation of the cool air, the sight of the soft gray world, and the wonderfully calming, whispering song of the Mizzle on the clay. The jars were slowly, patiently filling, not with water, but with tranquility. They were capturing a lullaby sung by the sky, a gentle story told in a language of pure, undiluted peace. When the jars were nearly full and the Mizzle began to thin, Caspar moved with the same unhurried care. He gathered the jars one by one, their weight now heavier, more substantial. He could feel a cool, gentle energy emanating from the clay, the captured essence of the rain song. Cradling them once more, he carried them back inside the warm, dry cottage, their quiet treasure safely gathered, ready for a time of even deeper listening. Chapter 3. The Resonance of a Sunshower. One might think that one rain is much like another, but that would be like thinking all quiet songs are the same. Not long after the Mizzle had faded back into the sky, a different kind of magic began to unfold. The clouds did not part so much as they thinned, becoming a soft, luminous silver. Then a gentle, honey-colored sunlight began to filter through, illuminating the lingering moisture in the air. A sunshower was beginning, and the hollow, which moments before had been a world of cool grays, was transformed into a shimmering tapestry of gold and green. Caspar stood on his porch watching the new rain arrive. These drops were larger and fell with a little more purpose than the Mizzle, creating a soft, cheerful patter on the mossy roof. It was a sound like the gentle tapping of 1,000 tiny benevolent fingers. Where the drops landed on the porch railing, they did not whisper. They created small, bright splashes that caught the sunlight. The air itself grew warmer, and the scent changed. The cool perfume of moss giving way to something richer and even more comforting. The true magic of the sunshower, however, was revealed at the base of the cottage. Here, in the damp earth, grew special patches of Petrichor Moss, its texture a deep, velvety green. As the warm sunlit raindrops touched the moss, a wonderful thing happened. tiny bell-shaped pods, which had been tightly closed, began to unfurl with a slow, graceful patience. From the mouth of each open bell, a fine, shimmering golden pollen was released, catching the light as it drifted into the warm, damp air. The air filled with the most beautiful scent Caspar knew. It was the pure, distilled essence of petrichor, the smell of rain meeting warm, sun-drenched earth. It was a fragrance that spoke of deep contentment, of simple joy, and of the profound peace of the natural world. It smelled like a happy memory one had forgotten they possessed. Caspar closed his eyes and inhaled deeply, the warm, earthy scent filling his lungs and seeming to spread a gentle, liquid warmth all through his chest. It was a scent that made his shoulders soften and his heart feel light. He watched, captivated, as the whole hollow seemed to come alive under the sunshower's gentle touch. The air was filled with 1,000 tiny drifting rainbows as the sunlight refracted through the falling raindrops. The leaves of the great willow glistened as if they had been painted with liquid gold. The small stream sparkled, its surface dancing with light. It was a quiet and gentle celebration, a moment of pure, unassuming beauty that asked for nothing more than to be witnessed. Caspar did not set out his hushing jars for this rain. The sunshower's gift was not one to be captured, but one to be experienced in the moment. It was a resonance, a feeling, a warm and golden light that settled over everything. He felt the warmth on his face and the light touch of the raindrops on his hands. He felt no need to move, no need to do anything at all. He was simply a part of the scene, another quiet resident of the hollow, receiving the rain's gentle blessing. The gentle patter on the roof continued its happy, rhythmic song. The air remained thick with the comforting golden scent of the Petrichor Moss. A feeling of easy, effortless gratitude settled in Caspar's heart. He was grateful for the warmth, for the light, for the beautiful, simple scent, for the quiet music of the rain. It was a deep and peaceful feeling, a sense of being perfectly in place in a world that was, in this moment, perfectly good. The sunshower did not last long. As gently as it arrived, it began to fade. The sunlight softened, the rain thinned to a few final glittering drops, and the golden pollen slowly settled onto the damp ground. The world was left looking clean and bright, glistening under a gentle sky. The air still held the warm, earthy perfume, a lingering memory of the beautiful moment. Caspar took one last slow breath of the wonderful air before turning to go inside, his spirit feeling as bright and refreshed as the newly washed hollow. Chapter 4. Decanting the Hush. The workshop was Caspar's quietest room, a place of soft shadows and gentle purpose. Its single window looked out upon the great willow, and its air was a comforting blend of subtle scents. The damp, earthy smell of wet clay, the sweet aroma of beeswax used for sealing as files, and the faint, papery fragrance of dried herbs hanging from the rafters. Here, after the rains had passed, and the world outside was breathing in a state of clean, calm stillness, the final, most meditative part of the alchemy would begin. On a long, worn workbench of smooth, pale wood, Caspar carefully placed the hushing jars he had collected from the Mizzle. They sat in a neat row, their gray clay cool and damp to the touch. He ran a gentle hand over the curved surface of one, feeling its perfect, handmade imperfection. A quiet work required quiet tools, and these jars felt like patient, sleeping friends. He looked into the opening of the first jar. The water inside was not merely water. It swirled with a faint, pearlescent light, a soft, internal luminescence that held the memory of the silvery mist it had come from. With a motion as slow and steady as pouring cream, Caspar took a small, clean linen cloth and gently wiped the rim of the jar. His movements were unhurried, each action given its own space and time. This was a process that could not be rushed, for its magic was in its patience. He selected a small glass phial, so clear it seemed to be made of solidified water, and a tiny clay funnel. Placing the funnel in the mouth of the phial, he prepared to pour. He lifted the first hushing jar. As he gently tilted it, an extraordinary thing happened. From the mouth of the jar, a soft, whispery sound emerged, the faintest echo of the Mizzle's song, as if the jar were sighing out its captured memory. The sound lasted only for a moment, a beautiful and fleeting gift, before the water began to flow. The liquid streamed through the funnel into the phial in a silent, silvery thread, the only sound a low, gentle gurgle, a deeply satisfying and calming noise in the quiet room. Caspar watched, his attention wholly focused on the simple, beautiful act. He observed the way the light from the window caught the stream of water, making it glitter. He saw the pearlescent glow transfer from the large jar to the small phial, swirling gently like a captured cloud. The process was a meditation, a dance of steady hands and a quiet mind. There were no thoughts of what came before or what would come next, only the gentle reality of the pouring, the sound of the water, the feel of the cool glass and clay. He filled 3 small phials this way, each one a concentrated vessel of the Mizzle's gentle spirit. Once filled, he took a small wooden stopper, its top dipped in warm, fragrant beeswax, and sealed the phial. The stopper slid into place with a soft, snug sigh, a sound of perfect completion. He held one of the finished phials up to the light. The liquid within seemed to breathe with a soft, silvery light, a tiny piece of the sky's gentlest mood, now held safely in his hand. After the phials were sealed, he tended to the hushing jars themselves. He rinsed them with clean water from his rain barrel, the sound of the splashing a pleasant contrast to the earlier quiet. He then set them to dry on a bed of soft moss he kept in a wooden tray by the window. There they would rest, breathing in the quiet air of the workshop, until the next rain called to them. As he worked, a profound sense of peace enveloped him. It was the peace that comes from simple, meaningful work done with love and care, the rhythmic, repetitive actions, the gentle sounds, the subtle, clean scents, all combined to create a state of deep and restful tranquility. The workshop was a sanctuary, and this quiet ritual was its gentle prayer, an expression of gratitude for the sky, for the clay, and for the simple, profound magic of a gentle rain. Chapter 5. The Gift of a Quiet Cloud. The final act of Caspar's gentle alchemy was not one of keeping, but of giving back. It was a way of saying thank you, a quiet gesture to the hollow that gave him so much peace. He chose a time when the air was perfectly still, in the soft moments after the last of the sunshower's warmth had faded, and before the cool of the evening had truly settled. The world was poised in a moment of perfect balance, hushed and waiting. From his workshop, he carried a large, shallow bowl carved from a single piece of willow wood. Its surface was worn to a wonderful smoothness, its grain swirling in beautiful, organic patterns. He placed it carefully on the ground in the very center of the hollow, directly beneath the soft, weeping branches of the great willow tree. The moss beneath the bowl was cool and damp, a soft cushion for his offering. He knelt beside it, the texture of the moss pleasant and yielding under his knees. From a soft leather pouch, he took two of the phials he had prepared. One held the silvery essence of the quiet Mizzle, and the other, from a previous collection, held the clear, bright spirit of a spring shower. Unstopping them, he gently tilted them over the bowl. The two liquids trickled out, their gurgling sounds a soft counterpoint in the immense quiet. As they met in the wooden bowl, the pearlescent liquids did not simply mix. They flowed together, swirling into a beautiful opalescent blend of silver and pale light, like liquid moonlight. For a moment, all was still. Caspar rested his hands on the rim of the bowl, its wood cool and familiar beneath his palms. He didn't speak a spell or perform a grand gesture. He simply recalled a few words his grandmother had always used, murmuring them softly into the quiet air, words not of command, but of gentle invitation. A gift of quiet, freely given for the soft and gentle earth. His breath was a small white cloud in the cool air. As if in response to his gentle intention, the liquid in the bowl began to shimmer. A soft, silvery vapor began to rise from its surface, not like steam, but like something more alive, more cohesive. The vapor slowly gathered just above the bowl, coalescing into a small, perfect cloud. It was no bigger than a loaf of bread, its form soft and rounded, its color a beautiful, shifting opalescence. It hovered there, just a few feet from the ground, utterly silent and perfectly still, a piece of captured weather returned to the world. Slowly the little cloud began to release its gift. It did not rain in drops, but instead let fall a fine, continuous dew, so light it was almost invisible. As this gentle dew touched the deep green moss on the ground, a quiet miracle occurred. Tiny pale blue flowers, no bigger than a pinhead, began to open their petals. They were star flowers, and they grew only where the moss was touched by this special alchemical dew. Soon, a perfect circle of soft blue had appeared on the moss around the willow bowl, a tiny secret garden born of gratitude. Caspar sat back on his heels, a feeling of deep, warm contentment spreading through him. He breathed in the air around the little cloud. It smelled wonderfully sweet and clean, a blend of cool mist and fresh spring water, a scent that felt like pure peace. He watched the tiny silent cloud until it had given all its moisture to the earth and faded into nothing, leaving behind only the circle of blue star flowers and the lingering beautiful scent of tranquility. The world felt complete, its gentle cycle of giving and receiving fulfilled. He remained kneeling for a long while, simply being, his heart as quiet and full as the gentle, listening hollow around him.